So, good morning everyone. Day 3. This morning we're going to start to have a look at the 5 hindrances, the Pancha Nivarana. The 5 hindrances are given to us in the Dhamma and Meditation section of the Satipatthana text, contemplation of mind objects or contemplation of content, contemplation of thoughts, if you like. To say that the 5 hindrances are an impediment to our concentration would be to underestimate them. They can cause great difficulties in our attempt to become still and quiet, especially in the beginning stages of our meditation. But the 5 hindrances are a very important vehicle for insight. We'll have to pay attention to them, otherwise you'll find that they get a little bit out of control. So we'll start to have a look at those today. They're only temporarily overcome when we're able to establish the 5 jhanic factors and we enter into and abide in the first jhana. At this point, the 5 hindrances are well suppressed. The mind is becoming one-pointed. The 5 hindrances, however, are not fully removed until we reach the paths of enlightenment. The 5th hindrance, doubt, is removed by the first path, and the other hindrances are removed as we slowly progress up the scale of enlightenment. These 5 hindrances are constantly with us. We've been living with them throughout our lives, and yet we don't really pay any attention to the fact that they're there. They're in the background conditioning and creating all the problems in our life. It's because of these 5 hindrances that ignorance gets established. It's because of ignorance that we have a sense of self and dukkha arises. The 5 hindrances are an important thing to be noted and known. We need to be able to let go of these 5 hindrances. Our meditation practice is always the practice of letting go of things, letting go of the past and future, being present, letting go of the external objects and internalizing, letting go of these 5 hindrances and becoming one-pointed. Start to become aware of these 5 hindrances as and when they arise. When you're doing your meditation, rising, falling, rising, falling, rising, falling, sitting, rising, falling, sitting, if you notice one of these 5 hindrances, make a note of it. Label it if you need to, and then come straight back to the rising and the falling. You should be maintaining your awareness on the main object as continuously as possible. You only need to note the hindrances if they come up and hinder you. Please don't go searching for the hindrances. Please don't create the hindrances so that you can watch them. Maintain your awareness on the rise and the fall 95% of the time, and only note the secondary objects when necessary. And don't linger in these objects. Don't try to analyze them or speculate about them. Certainly don't identify with them. Allow them to pass away as quickly as they can be let go of. These hindrances are very important objects of our meditation. Don't think that, oh, they're in the way, I can't meditate. No, they are the objects of your meditation if and when they are arising. Some of you will notice 1 or 2 of the hindrances. Some of you will notice all 5. You'll notice that they're constantly arising. Some of you will just be a walking, talking mass of hindrances. Recognize that that may be the case. Don't become upset when you recognize I'm nothing but the hindrances. Don't identify them, and you'll just be nothing. I know that sounds disturbing and worrying, but it's freedom. We'll need to objectively note them and know them. Observe them with bare attention without becoming involved in these hindrances. They are legitimate objects of our satipatthana practice, the fourth stairway that leads to nibbana. They're not you, and they're very impermanent. Whatever a bhikkhu frequently thinks and ponders upon, that will become the inclination of his mind. It's a wonderful phrase, that. Think about it carefully. Whatever a monk frequently thinks and ponders upon, that will become the inclination of his mind. This is the conditioning process through thinking. If we're constantly thinking about things, then our mind becomes that particular situation or that particular experience. If we're constantly thinking about being restless, we become restless. So please don't feed them when the hindrances start to arise. Just like a dog, if it comes up onto your balcony and if you give it a little bit of food, it'll come back the next day. It'll come back the next day and it'll probably start to live on your balcony, because you're feeding it. We become what we think. So be very careful about what you frequently think and ponder upon. Think also about your sources of information. If you have a particular source of information, if you're constantly referring to a particular source of information, understand that that is conditioning your reality. See how you are a conditioned being, conditioned by external sources, and also being conditioned by your own thinking process. It's one of the wonderful things about going to another country. We have a look at the people, we see their culture. Everybody is dressed the same or similarly. They're eating the same things, they're talking the same language, they have the same ideas and behaviors. They're conditioned. And you go just across the border and there's a whole other set of conditions that are in place. The people are quite different in their behaviors and outlooks and beliefs. So have a look at how you're being conditioned, especially on the retreat. The retreat is not going to make these 5 hindrances increase, but you will become more aware of them whilst you are here. Whilst you are unable to distract yourself with the internet and the telephone and the cinema and your friends and talking and going here and there, all the normal things that distract us from actually watching and observing the mind, have a look at how you're being conditioned by your own thinking. When you get yourself into a little irritation or a little frustration, see how it can blow up in your face if you keep thinking and pondering upon it. Thinking and pondering about the sources of restlessness or worry or concern only increases that. So if you notice these hindrances arising in your mind, just make a note, know them, know that it's arising, accept that it's arising in the present moment. This is your reality right now. Don't try to push them or get rid of them. Allow them their space. Create space around them. That means don't identify with them. They're objective realities. Allow them to arise and allow them to pass away. If you do identify with them, they stay for longer. If you keep feeding them with extra thoughts about the hindrance, then it's going to grow worse until finally you get a little bit crazy. And you'll all notice that on the retreat whilst you're here. You'll get yourself into a mood, or you'll start thinking about something, and then you'll see the trouble that thinking can cause. So these are very habitual states. We often react to the same thing over and over again. We have a particular pattern. There's a particular person or group of people or a location that we don't like, or something very simple like a food or something like that. We always use tomato sauce. If you didn't like tomato sauce when you were 10 years old and got upset with it, and then you didn't like it every day after that, and then every time you see tomato sauce, the same reaction happens. You get upset if people put it on your food. Right up into your 30s, 40s, 50s, you have a strong aversion. It's just a habit pattern. We are conditioned beings. Be careful with the information you're inputting, because it's conditioning you. Be careful about what you're thinking about, because it's conditioning you. Of course, if you're putting in rubbish, you're going to become rubbish. Think about that. If you're constantly thinking and pondering upon things of nonsense, you're going to become a thing of nonsense. So incline the mind towards wholesome states. Develop the good ones, like loving kindness, like patience, like forbearance, those types of mental states, kindness, compassion. Develop those and start to condition yourself in these mind states. If you have to do some conditioning, make sure it's wholesome. At least it'll be associated with pleasant feeling. Don't condition yourself with unwholesome mind states. They're associated with unpleasantness. If you continuously think and ponder upon thoughts of unwholesomeness, then you're going to have constantly arising unpleasantness. And that's not the way to live. So be careful of that. Try to break this cycle of reaction. Try to see your patterns and habits. We all have them. Some of us have a particular hindrance which is stronger than the others. Some of us have a nice even balance of all the hindrances. The first hindrance is known as kama chanda. Kama, K-A-M-A, kama chanda. It means sensual desire. It's inclining the mind towards sensuality. It's the wish and wanting energy of the mind. Try to notice while you're doing your meditation practice if your mind is wishing for something or wanting for something, especially results in your meditation. This is an absolute disaster. Do not wish or want for anything whilst you're meditating. Please correct your attitude every sitting. Every time you sit down, adjust your attitude. Reflect, why am I meditating? And putting conditions in place for letting go. You're not trying to achieve or get anything whilst you're on your sitting mat. Have a look at the kind of energy or mind states of seeking and wanting things out. We all want different things. Some people like those objects. Some people are much more interested in food. Some people like money. Some people like sex. Some people like listening to things. Some people like watching things. These are all objects of sensuality. These are sensual objects that are arising at the sense bases, the eye, ear, nose, tongue, and body. Try to look out for any seeking and wanting that may be occurring, or any longing if you're wishing for something all the time. If you're wishing, if I could just find that perfect boyfriend, if I could just buy that funky little apartment in the inner city and everything will be okay. If I could just get that motorbike, if I could just do that round the world trip, if I could just get that new pair of running shoes, whatever it is that you like to think about, you'll discover it on this retreat. Make a note of that. What are you hankering for? Where does your mind go when it gets a little bit bored? What is it wishing for? This is a hindrance to your meditation. You need to be able to notice it clearly when it's occurring so that you can let it go. Do not engage with it. Do not indulge in it. You'll need to be strict in your meditation practice. If you notice your mind always wishing and wanting for some object of sensuality, be disciplined. Cut it off as quickly as you can. Note it. Step away from it. If it arises again, note it and step away. If it arises, note it and step it away. Say those words, stop, stop, stop. My teacher used to say that to me. Stop it, stop it. When the thoughts became crazy. Sometimes we need to strongly discipline the mind. Notice when you start to get in a conversation with somebody in your own mind. Oh no, I think I do need to have this little conversation. We do. Actually, oh, you're here again. Yes, okay. Well, this happened and that happened. You said this and I said that, and then I should have said this, but I didn't, and you said da-da-da-da-da. Have a look at those replays, the comments, again and again and again. You need to be strict with yourself and cut them off. Don't engage or indulge in them, especially if they're associated with unpleasantness. It's going to make your life a disaster. You'll just be sitting there in unpleasantness. Maybe spend half a day of your retreat in that, maybe a whole day. Maybe it's going to travel over into 2 or 3 days where you're sitting there thinking and brooding, grudging. Watch out for objects of sensuality and how they stir up the mind. If you find yourself yearning or passionate for things, if there's strong sexual desire, have a look at that. Have a look at the desire for sex, for intimacy. It's quite natural and normal for the defilements to play around like this. Give it its space, but don't indulge in it. It's there, okay. It's there. Don't become upset. Don't think that you're a bad person. It's not evil. You're not being charged. You won't be taken to court for having thoughts. There's no thought police yet. Well, there kind of is. Political correctness. Have a look at that. If you start to yearn and be passionate about things. Especially lusting, or the worst of the wishing states is covetousness. Desiring and wishing for something that belongs to somebody else. Wishing, I wish I had that thing. That's what leads people to stealing. Taking things that haven't been given. This mind state of, oh, I'd like to have, oh, they've got a nice sitting mat, I want to have that, or something like that. Yeah? They've got a good walking path, I want to have that walking path. Have a look if your mind is silly. Where is it going? Especially towards beautiful objects. The mind wishes for and wants for beautiful things. It likes nice forms to look at. It likes beautiful sounds to listen to, good smells. We don't want that awful cheap incense. We want the nice one with the good sandalwood flavor. Odor. Have a look at that. Have a look at your desire for refinements in sensuality. You've got a comfortable enough thing, but you want a little bit better. Things are going okay. I've got a little motorbike, but I want a big one. I've got one house, but I need a beach house as well. When's it going to stop? I've got one boyfriend, I want two. See how that goes. Is it pleasant or dukkha? So have a look at those kind of inclinations of the mind. See how it's always seeking something more refined and better than what it is actually experiencing. It's defilements of craving and wishing. So this is kamachanda. We can overcome it by the practice of asubha kamatan. That is the practice of the non-beautiful, or repulsiveness, or the foul. We can overcome sexual desire by observing this characteristic of the body. Turn away from sensuality whilst you're here on the retreat. Notice when you're inclining and, oh yeah, oh she's all right. Have a look if your mind is inclining in that direction. And be careful with it. You may spend some days on your retreat imagining, oh, you don't even know her name or where she comes from, what country, but you've already started planning the wedding. Oh, what country will we live in? How many children will we have? Look out for that kind of nonsense when it starts to arise. I've heard it before in the interviews. Do you know her name? I thought you were in love with her. Have a look at that when the mind starts to incline in those directions. The Buddha tells us to guard the sense faculties, Indriya Samvara. On seeing a form with the eye, he does not glance at its signs and its features. For if he glances at its signs and its features, evil, unwholesome thoughts of covetousness and grief may invade. He practices the way of restraint. He guards the eye faculty. He protects the eye faculty. And so forth with the ear, nose, tongue and body. Guard your faculties with awareness and wisdom in the present moment so that defiled states of wishing and wanting and longing and being are not arising. The Buddhist gave us a simile of dyed water with a colour thrown into it. The mind normally being crystal clear and pure. When this sensual desire is in the mind, it's like there's a red dye bomb put in a swimming pool and all the water becomes red and everything you look at is just an object of longing and wanting and wishing and desiring. So have a look at that. If it starts to arise, don't concentrate on the object of your sensuality. Instead, have a look at the energy of desiring or wanting or wishing for or hankering after. Those types of mind states which are reaching out to get something. It's always something for me, of course. These are always objects that I'm going to experience. This is always objects which are mine, to me, for me, at me, by me, I am. We use these objects, or craving does, to gain a sense of being in the present moment. So be careful of this first hindrance, kamachanda, sensual desire. The second hindrance is known as Vyapada. Vyapada means ill will or aversion. It's the type of mind, the opposite of kamachanda. Kamachanda is wanting and desiring. Vyapada is pushing away, trying to get rid of. Aversion states of mind. The mind that has become irritated with something, become annoyed by somebody, is frustrated by an experience or an event. It's a desire to escape from a particular experience and get rid of it. It's a pushing away. Have a look if your mind starts inclining and pushing away from things. There are many things that may trigger you here on the retreat. Some resistance may arise in the mind. You may have resistance towards the chanting, for example. Some people do in the beginning stages, or in particular, bowing down to the Buddha. There can be some resistance there. Very uncomfortable. I'm not doing that. That's ridiculous, that practice. Who does that anymore? I'm not religious. Watch the mind when it's resisting. Watch the dukkha that arises through resistance. Watch the freedom that arises through acceptance and contentment. Recognize resistance when it's arising. Make a note of it. Be very clear about it. I want you to feel the dukkha of resistance. And I want you to note that resistance and watch the dukkha dissolve. Disliking and not wanting to be associated with things is real dukkha. So drop it. Drop this tendency of the mind to want to get rid of things. Drop this tendency of the mind to judge others, to make comments about them by ourselves. This guy, he's like that, he's always doing that. She's always, look at her, da. She does this and he does that, and he's doing that and this and that, and she's wrong and she's wrong, and he's hopeless and, oh, what's it? Oh. Where's the problem? Excuse me? Oh. Yeah, it's in your own aversion states. That's what's going on. It's very bad practice to look outside of your own mind. Don't be concerned with what other people's bodies are doing. Be concerned with what your mind is doing. How is your mind reacting to things? Notice that these reactions, these frustrations, are all about me. There has to be a person for frustration and irritation to be taking place. You have to be taking an experience or an event personally for frustration and irritation to arise. Have a look at that. People do weird things. Forget about it. Don't think and ponder upon. You'll spend a day thinking about, why did she do that? What is wrong with her? Actually, she did something only for 2 seconds. And then you spend a whole day or 3 days thinking and thinking and thinking, dukkhaing yourself, destroying your meditation, becoming restless, averse, and wanting to run away. Have a look at that. From resistance, from comments and judging about things. The mind that is full of hate, actually. It's the hating mind when it becomes stronger. The ill will mind. And we start to blame others. Now my meditation's ruined because of him. It's your own reaction. You're responsible for your own mental states. When they arise, they are to be noted and known and let go of. One of the reasons that we are in noble silence here on the retreat is because it would be impossible for 30 people to live together in a room for 20 days if we were all talking to each other. We would drive each other crazy. Even just one comment to someone can drive them crazy for a day. Now have a look at the special conditions we have here so that we can observe the mind and its mental states. When you start to make comparisons, when you're judging, when you're criticizing, when you're complaining about things, nobody wants to listen to your complaining. Listen to it yourself. Have a good listen. Complain 5 or 6 times to yourself and see if it's pleasant or not before you start to speak it. Complaining and criticizing, what is that? It's just aversion in your mind. You'll need to be able to deal with this if you're to become a decent meditator. If you're able to let go of things. This is the very first stage of letting go, these hindrances. There's no concentration, there's no samadhi when these hindrances are around. They're the very things that block samadhi from arising. So you don't want to be the last person in the room to know that you're the angry dude. Everybody else can see. Have a look at that. Observe it and let it go. Don't take things personally. Personalizing experiences and events leads to aversion, frustration, annoyance, resistance, hating, ill will, maybe even thoughts of violence. If that guy bangs that door one more time, I'm going to bang his head in the door. Have a look at those kind of thoughts if they arise. Avoid them. The Buddha gives us a simile of boiling water. The mind that's full of aversion or resistance is like water boiling. You can't see into it. You can't see things clearly. There's certainly no meditation or no concentration when your mind is boiling and bubbling away. We develop our loving kindness practice every evening to overcome these thoughts of ill will towards ourselves and towards others. Ill will towards ourselves is a real impediment as well. It's a real problem. Sometimes we can have a bad view about ourselves. Excuse me. Reflection on an object of resentment, on an object of aversion of people or places or things, leads to this pushing away mind, this bhaya pada. Make a note of judging. If people are annoying you, make a note. Annoying. Something's irritating you. Very often they can just do something very minor. It's only a couple of seconds long. And they don't even know that they've done it. They don't even recognize that they've annoyed you. And you sit there for days, grumbling and growling like an old dog. Be careful of that. It's very uncomfortable, isn't it? It can be very painful as well. So make a note if there's any anger or any frustration. Just gently label it, allow it its space, and allow it to pass away. The third hindrance is known as tina middha. Tina middha is normally translated as sloth and torpor, but nobody knows what that means, so we say laziness and boredom. It's the mind which has become shrunken. When we start to fall down into our cushion and we start to lean against the wall and when the mind is becoming lazy, have a look at this contracted state of mind. Observe if it's arising, if it's becoming sleepy, if it's becoming tired. Have a note of tiredness. You'll be amazed if you can activate your awareness in the present moment and be fully aware and observing tiredness, how quickly it disappears. When you're aware of it and you don't allow it its conditioning of your experience, then you've escaped it, just like any other mental state. Tiredness is a mental thing. Of course, if you're extremely physically tired, then take yourself to bed, have a lie down. Try to have a rest after lunch. Don't drink coffee at lunchtime. If you must drink coffee, have a coffee in the morning. Use that afternoon time to have a little rest, a little lie down. It's perfectly fine to rest. Be mindful whilst you're resting. When the mind is feeling a little bit flat, when it's experiencing apathy or becoming weary, when it's becoming slack, look at this state of mind. Oh, I don't really want to meditate. This sitting's hopeless, I can't do it. When's he going to ring the bell? Let's have a peek. Don't become a peeker. Peeking is the worst thing for your meditation. Open your eye, have a look around, judging, scanning the room. Who's meditating, who's not? What are you doing? You peeker? Make a note, peeking. When you feel tired and restless or tiredness, inactive, indolent, of course you'll feel tired at 4:30 in the morning. We don't normally get up at that time unless you're running to go to the airport or something like that. But here we like to get up nice and early so we can start the day before anyone else does. Be fresh. We have a beautiful bell that wakes us up, with a bell ringer who's very happy to alert you to the presence of a new day. Don't be unhappy when you hear that bell. Don't roll over and have a grumble. That's not what we're... Notice that any tiredness that may be occurring, any sluggishness. When you're on the retreat here, be moderate in your eating. This is one of the practices the Buddha has suggested. We do our food reflection. We're considering it thoughtfully while we eat. Be moderate. Don't take huge bowls. When the pastor comes out, it's not the time to have 3 bowls and then go back to your room and lie on the bed. Be careful of how much food you eat. The amount of food you eat can affect the mind, can become sluggish, can become heavy. When the body becomes heavy and full, the mind becomes tired and lazy. Note this connection and be careful with your food intake. Be devoted to wakefulness, another practice the Buddha gave us. He said that we should go to bed in the 2nd watch of the night and get up in the 3rd watch of the night. The old days, the Indian night would be made up of the first 4 hours, from 6 till 10, and then from 10 till 2, and then from 2 till 6. And the Buddha suggested that we just lay down and slept for one of the watches. When I was meditating with my teacher, we could only go to bed I don't think it could be called a bed. You're allowed to lie down on the floor at 10 o'clock. And the bell would ring at 2. 4 hours devoted to wakefulness. Try that practice and see how it goes. That's how you exert, that's how you train the mind, that's how you become full of energy. You don't become full of energy by lying on the floor like a slug, complaining about, oh, I'm so tired, I'm so tired. No. It's by getting up and being active. There's an old saying, if you want something done, get a busy person to do it. Yeah. Even if they're really busy, they'll still get it done. Don't ask a lazy person to do something. They don't do anything. Someone who's free and, oh yeah, they've got plenty of time, they can do it. No. Ask someone that has no time, they'll get it done. Yeah. Be skillful in your exertion. Activate your mind. When you do find that this hindrance is arising, there's a few practical things we can do. Have a shower. Go and splash some water on yourself. It doesn't take very long. Dip into the bucket and splash some cold water. It helps wake you up. If it's during the day, go and open your eyes up to the bright sky. Let in some light. Don't stare at the sun. That'll burn your retina. That's foolish. Just open your eyes to the light. Let some light in. This is helpful for overcoming drowsiness. Some people say that you should pull your ears or do something like that. Yeah, helps wake you up. I don't really believe it and I don't think it works, but it looks funny when people do it. Occasionally you find people in the hall pulling their ears to wake themselves up. Maybe it works. The Buddha said it's like a pond of water that's covered with vegetation, pond scum on the water. You can't see into it. Everything's become covered over. If you find that you've become tired, then you can also do some walking meditation in a fast pace. Walk a little bit faster. Use 1 or 2 step walking meditation and walk for 15 minutes in a faster pace. Energize the body. And then slow down for another 15 minutes of moderate walking and then do your very slow walking. If you're finding that very slow walking is making you very, very tired, then go a little bit faster and then start to slow down. If you notice this sleepiness or this tiredness or states of boredom start to arise, make a note. Boredom, boredom. Don't become a boring person. Don't identify with states of boredom. Don't take them home with you. Don't bring them into the house. You will become boring. If you frequently think and ponder upon thoughts of, I'm so bored, when's he going to be quiet? Oh, who's this guy talking constantly? Oh. If you're becoming bored, note your boredom. Don't react to it. Don't take it personally. Don't become angry or frustrated if boredom starts to arise. Make a note, sleepy, that kind of thing. The fourth hindrance is called Uddhacca Kukucca, which is a pretty cool name. Uddhacca Kukucca. It means restlessness and worry. This is the mind which is wandering and restless, anxious and concerned. The mind that's constantly thinking about something, having those conversations. It's restless. It won't settle down. It's like a dog that's constantly walking around. Have a look if this starts to arise in your mind. Unrest. Particularly if you're wandering into the past or the future. The past and future is just nonsense. The past is just a thought arising in the present, and the future is just a thought that's arising in the present. Don't go there. It's just thinking. It's make-believe. It doesn't exist. It exists only as a memory or a plan in your mind. So make a note, remembering or planning. Step away from that nonsense. Create space around it. Don't get involved with it. The restless mind becomes more and more restless the more we think about the object of our restlessness. If you're constantly thinking about your upcoming trip to Phuket, you're thinking about it, You make yourself more and more restless until finally you go crazy. When we become concerned with outside things, we become concerned with people. Have a look at that. Our meditation practice should be directed internally, into the present moment. Don't distract yourself when you become restless with things. And don't worry. Especially don't worry about your meditation practice. This is the biggest hindrance that I've seen that new meditators coming on the retreat suffer from. They spend 5 or 6 days worrying about their meditation results and what they can tell their friends after the retreat. Did you get it? Did you get it? And says, I didn't get it yet. It's day 4 and I'm not enlightened. That's not going to happen. Worrying and worrying, becoming more and more restless. What are they going to think about me? It's just thoughts of self, bound up, restless. You'll be fine as soon as you let it go. As soon as you stop doing that, you'll be free. So don't think too much. Except in Thai language, it's very clear. Thinking means to, kit means to think. Mark means a lot. Kit mark, thinking a lot. The direct translation is worrying. The monks used to say it to me all the time. Don't kit mark. Don't worry. Don't worry. But I'm a monk and I have to meditate and I have to get it. I'm trying so hard, just sit down every single session full of desire, wanting to get some results. I've read about it and others say, no, I want to get psychic powers. I want to get that, I'm not happy looking at the nonsense in my own mind. I want to see other people's minds as well. That's bound to be much more fun. It's not. So, drop that. Thinking, constantly worrying about stuff. Don't worry about the results of your meditation. If you have this hindrance, note it. Worrying. Maybe you've done something bad in the past and you're reflecting on it. You can become remorseful. Have a look at that type of worry as well. You think, I shouldn't have done that. I said that bad thing to her. That was bad. I'm an evil, rotten person. I should be flogged. I should be banished. I should be killed. No, you're not. It's just an unfortunate mistake. So, love yourself. It's okay. Don't think too much about these type of mind states. Don't become upset with how things are going for you in your meditation or in your life. Don't become upset with, but I have to become something. I have to be somebody. Everyone else has a business card. I have to find a funky little occupation. I have to find a little niche market for myself. And then I can be cool. Don't think like that. You'll create problems for yourself. You'll be worried, you'll be concerned, you'll be stressed out. If you're having any thoughts or worries of guilt, we all make mistakes. It's fine. Mistakes are made. They arise and pass away. You'll dukkha yourself if you identify with those mistakes and constantly review them in your mind. But when I was 20, I made a mistake. I did that. I shouldn't have done that. Now I've been thinking about it constantly for years and years. Drop it. Life is one big mistake. Don't become upset with it. It is a mistake. Maybe you feel guilty about something, or maybe you fear something, you're afraid of something, you're scared. And the mind's constantly scared or worrying about what this person or that person thinks. Oh, what will the scene think of me? What will my friends think of me? What does my family think of me? You're worried about that. There's some fear arising. Make a note of that fear. Maybe you're fearing the future. Guilty about the past and fearing the future, it's no way to live. Constantly thinking about the past leads to depression. Constantly thinking about the future leads to anxiety. Yeah, that's where these mental disorders come from. They come from constantly thinking about stuff and identifying with the nonsense, taking it personally. Don't do that. Be aware of the wandering mind as it starts to wander here and there. It wanders. Get used to it. In Thai it's called Phung San. Phung. Cloudy, mystical, wandering. It goes here and there. It's the nature of the mind when it's deluded and doesn't see things clearly. It loves to participate in the matrix. It's constructing and fabricating its reality. We all are living in our own fabricated realities, our own construction. Resist the temptation to go wandering in your matrix of dukkha. Stop identifying with it and free yourself from this world. The Buddha said that the world is the world of the 6 sense bases. This is where all your ideas and all your information comes from. It arises and passes away at the sense bases. The world, not just the world, my world. The world's for me, a subjectified inhabiting. So be careful of that wandering mind. Make a note, wandering. Be strict with yourself. Cut it off if it needs to be. Just like the telephone plan salesperson that comes to the front door while you're trying to have your meal at 7 o'clock at night. Knock on the door. Yes, excuse me, madam, are you interested in a new phone plan? Actually, I'm not, thank you, goodbye. Close the door. Don't open the door and say, oh, well, what plans do you have? Well, what are the prices? 2.5 hours later, you'll be signing a contract. Don't engage in the nonsense when it comes knocking. It will come knocking. Your job as a meditator is to observe and to note when the knocks are at the door. Your job is not to open the door and engage and create a conversation. Don't get 15 minutes into a conversation. Oh yeah, thinking. No, too late. You lost some of your life. You are floating in nonsense. Haven't you spent enough of your life in the past and the future? Where have you been? So let go of that behavior. You'll need to be strict with yourself. Very strict to break this habit, this pattern. But once you have learnt the skill and how to break it, once you have confidence that you're able to break it, then you can extricate yourself from any problem. You can pull yourself out, remove yourself from the experience, and then it fades away and disappears. It might come back again, it's an old habit, and then it's gone again. Learn the skill of letting go of the past and future, letting go of the wandering mind, of the restless mind, of the worrying mind, the scared or fearful mind. Let go of that stuff. When we observe this, when we can note this and allow it its space, it really gives us wonderful insight into the nature of non-self. It truly is out of control. You can't control your mind. You think that you're in control of the situation, I'm controlling my life, but are you? Sit on the floor for an hour and tell me if you can control the nonsense that keeps coming up. It's conditioned. You're living in a conditioned reality. Stuff is going to come up whether you like it or not. Unpleasant stuff, pleasant stuff, cravings and aversions. The mind wanders here and there. You'll need to learn to live with it skillfully, not unskillfully. Skillfully, we know to know and let go, freeing the mind. Unskillfully, we identify and react, liking and disliking. As soon as we get ourselves in trouble, then you'll have to go searching for some sensuality. And that first hindrance will come up. Oh, how can I get out of this wandering mind? Oh, I'll create a thought of lust and think about that. Great. Oh no, I shouldn't be doing that. That's bad. And you'll start to create thoughts of aversion. Pull yourself out with awareness and wisdom in the present moment. It's a very good skill to learn. The Buddha gives us a simile of agitated, wind-whipped water. Just like on the sea out there between the two islands, when the wind is blowing hard, the water's all stirred up, little white caps. You can't see into the water. It's not smooth and calm. It's all disturbed and agitated. Have a look at the agitated states of mind. Don't identify with them. As soon as you stop identifying, they're gone. If you keep holding it, like carrying around something dirty or unpleasant. So don't follow the story. Don't get stuck in the narrative. You're not the director. You're not creating a movie. The content of our stories and narratives is kind of irrelevant. Don't get stuck in the content of the wandering mind. Observe the structure of the wandering mind. Observe it, how it arises and how it passes away, how it leads to distraction and restlessness. Look at the conditioning power of this restless mind. The fifth hindrance is known as vicikiccha, or skeptical doubt. This is the mind which is unsure, uncertain. It doesn't quite believe what's going on. It can't be really sure. Should I do this or should I do that? It's indecisive. Can't make a decision. Should I look out of my left eye or should I look out of my right eye? It's all nonsense. Don't try to create conditions or decisions where you don't need them. Look at the mind that is unsure about things, not certain, when there's hesitation. Remove that hesitation by noting and knowing it when it's arising. It's very unpleasant. Doubt is one of the most unpleasant of the hindrances. When we don't know what to do and we don't know where to go, when we get out at the train station in a busy Indian city or something, and there's 15 guys coming up and trying to attack you with their rickshaw, and you don't know where you're going and you don't know even which direction you're meant to be going in, and it becomes nervous and frustrating. Indecision. Just choose, yep, you'll do, let's go dude, take me to your hotel, done. Oh, but how thick is the mattress in your hotel? Don't create any indecision. It's painful. Don't have doubt. On the retreat, we can find ourselves doubting ourselves. Can I do this practice? I'm not sure if I can do it. I'm normally hopeless at everything, and so I'll probably be hopeless at meditation as well. That's a great start. Drop that idea. You're wonderful. You're great, and you'll be able to do it. There, I said it. Okay? Now believe. Yeah. So, don't doubt yourself. When we put the conditions in place, everything flows and unfolds nicely, just as it should. Have faith and confidence in yourself. This is a foundation for our meditation practice. It's one of the faculties, faith or saddha. We need to have faith and confidence in ourselves. We also need to have faith and confidence in the Buddha, Dhamma, Sangha. There's no point trying to follow a teaching or follow a path that we don't have confidence in. If you're thinking, well, I'm not really sure about the Buddha, he wasn't really that smart. I don't think the Dhamma is the real truth. I prefer what Einstein says, or whatever. If you're wavering in your faith and confidence in the Buddha, the teaching, and the enlightenment of those beings, then you're in for trouble on the retreat. We do the chanting every evening so that we can develop some faith and confidence in this teaching. You'll also need to have faith and confidence in the technique that we're doing here. Satipatthana bhavana. Mind development by 4 foundations of mindfulness. If you don't have faith and confidence in the technique, your meditation is going to be messy. What happens is you fall back to an old technique of meditation you may have had. Oh, it's not really working, so I might do that old technique. And you do that for a little bit, and well, it's not working either, so I better go back to I'll do what they're practicing here. And you do that for a few sittings. Oh no, actually it works better with that technique. And so the mind just becomes full of doubt. Can't make a decision. And so you're left stuck in the middle, full of uncertainty. And then, of course, you become frustrated. It's not working. It's not working because you're not doing it. It does work, but you need to have faith and confidence in yourself. You'll need to have faith and confidence in the Buddha, Dhamma, Sangha. And you'll need to have faith and confidence in the meditation technique. The meditation technique has worked for thousands, hundreds of thousands of people. All of them experienced insight. They came to see things as they really are and began to free their mind. Not only this year, but for the last 2,600 years, people on this side of the planet have been experiencing the wonder of the Buddha's teaching. So have some faith and confidence in that. These teachings don't last for 100 generations if they don't work. Have a look at some of the modern day teachings. You think people will be bowing down to Freud in 2,600 years? Oh, Sigmund Freud, he was the greatest of all psychoanalysts. Yeah, maybe he said some interesting things, but have a look at the lineage. Have a look across the generations of people who have managed to fulfill this training. Have faith and confidence. Strip out any doubt that you may be experiencing. If you're still unsure, then you'll need to suspend your disbelief. That's the best you can do. suspend your unbelieving. Just put it to the side. Well, I'm not really sure and I don't really know, but anyway, I'm not going to let it ruin my meditation for this retreat. I'm just going to put it over there. Doesn't exist. Don't think about it. If you find yourself wandering and thinking about it, okay, all your doubts will be completely removed through your own experience. Pachatthang vetitabo vinyuhiti, directly experienceable by the wise. When you start to see the Dhamma for yourself, you won't need to develop faith and confidence. It will become firmly and fully established. You won't need anybody to tell you it's like this or like that. You'll know for yourself. You'll stand in full confidence of the Dhamma. So notice when doubt is appearing in the mind. Really get a grip of this one, because it's the most troublesome of all the hindrances. It's only fully removed at the path of stream entry. That's when doubt is no longer arising, when one sees things truly, when one experiences, tastes nibbana for themselves. Okay, all doubt is vanished. Doubt in what is the path and what is not the path is fully removed. So look inside and have a look and see if the mind is uncertain, if it's wavering. Don't become a switcher in your meditation practice. Switching from this technique to that technique, back to this technique, back to that technique. Switching all day, all night, causing a hindrance to arise. Don't create a stop-start technique, full of energy and at the beginning of the sitting, and then by the end of it you just blur. Or in the morning you practice well and in the afternoon you get lazy. Be even and balanced in your application of your effort. Don't stop and start. Stopping and starting is an indication of doubt. Note that. Be continuous in your practice. Note any types of unworthiness. If you think you're not good enough, if you think you can't do it, if you think you're hopeless, oh, this is ridiculous. Everyone else is sitting so still and quiet, and I'm the most restless one in the room. You don't know, their minds are also wandering and restless. Just because they can sit still doesn't. A chicken can sit on its eggs for days and days without moving. So what? Make the mind still. So that's the 5 different hindrances that arise in the mind. Sensual desire, ill will, laziness and boredom, restlessness and worry and skeptical doubt. On the retreat we practice certain things. The schedule is the way it is to overcome these hindrances. We're guarding the sense faculties, we're practicing loving kindness meditation, we're developing energy by yoga and walking meditation, we're moderate in our eating, we're devoted to wakefulness. We're listening to these talks so that we can gain some faith and confidence in the Buddha's teaching. We're doing our chanting, we're following the schedule so that we don't need to make decisions. All these things are to overcome the hindrances. So be aware if they do start to peak. Be aware if they start to flood. There might be 1 or 2 or even 5. Don't become upset that the hindrances are occurring. It's normal. In the lives of beings, the hindrances dominate. If you don't have awareness and wisdom, you are a continuous walking, talking hindrance. That's what your experience of life is. Wanting to get this or that, becoming upset with that, being lazy and restless and doubting. More stuff. Oh, that's not making me happy. More stuff. That's not making me, now I'm bored. Oh, now I'm restless. Have a look. The hindrances are not being created on the retreat. They're with you all the time. The 5 hindrances are what blocks you from overturning ignorance so that it becomes true knowledge. The 5 hindrances lie behind ignorance in the paticca samuppada. It's because of the 5 hindrances that the structure and foundation of dukkha is so stable. The hindrances, they hinder. Nivarana. So please pay attention to them while you're here on the retreat. They should not be lightly dismissed. They are powerful, but they are also excellent vehicles for insight. You'll be able to see very clearly the impermanence of these 5 hindrances. They do arise and pass away. You'll be able to see the dukkha that they cause. And you'll also be able to experience the fact that they are impersonal, that they are non-self. When you see them clearly, you won't cling to them. Anicca, dukkha, anatta displays themselves very clearly in the 5 hindrances. They are the primary content of our minds, unless we've started on the path of practice and we start to overcome them and we start to achieve or develop the enlightenment factors. Those 7 enlightenment factors knock out the hindrances. In fact, the 5 jhanic factors, vitakka, vichara, piti, sukha, ekagata, direct thought, sustained thought, rapture, pleasure, and one-pointedness, these 5 factors of the first jhana replace the 5 hindrances. That's what turns the hindered mind into the jhanic mind. That's how we become stabilized and concentrated. So, if you're interested in samadhi, you better be interested in the 5 hindrances. It's only when you've let go of the 5 hindrances that samadhi starts to arise. Don't beat yourself up when the hindrances are there. They can be overcome. Don't think that they're getting in the way of my meditation. Don't attach to them or you'll suffer. Note them, know them, create space around them, and let them go. And then your practice will proceed smoothly. I think that's enough for this morning. We'll continue with our walking and sitting meditation.